Hello and welcome everybody, it's Karen. I am making some cards today. I think I've done about 5 cards using these paper information strips on the Paper Rose 12 by 12 paper pack collections. So as you can see, there's lots of them in different patterns and colors, but these could just as easily be strips of pattern paper or solid cardstock, whatever you have in your stash. So just keep that in mind. I'm using this image from one of the Rainbow Twirl pattern papers, and you can see I've cut it in half, but I've picked out some paper strips that sort of coordinated or would go with that image. And I've got a 5.5-inch square card base that I'm putting these strips down onto. Now I'm going to do a very loose weave. I really wasn't too worried about this because that image is really quite big. And it covers up most of this weaving, but you get a little hint of different colored papers showing through, and I really quite like that. So here I'm just lining up this little strip, weaving it in and out, and once it's where I want it to be, then I glued these strips down. And so to glue it at first, all I did is wherever I could lift up one of the intertwined layers, I lifted it up and added some glue. And just to basically get this tacked in place, I suppose at this point, I will glue it all down in a little bit here. So I just went through, now you're going to see this isn't terribly even, but honestly it doesn't show. So once I had that done, I lifted it all up and I just trimmed off along my card base there, and I went back and trimmed all the other edges to make it even. And so now I'm going to put glue all over this on the back, which is really what's going to hold that down in place. And then I've put that onto my card. Now on this flower image, I added some scraps of cardstock in behind just to give it a bit more dimension. And so now I can glue that one down. That Celebrate layered die at the bottom, I cut the shadow layer, I think 2 or 3 times from white cardstock, and once the sentiment itself from the green cardstock. And that's all I really did. I added a few pearls onto that, but I think that floral image just, it's the show. Okay, so now for the other half of that floral image, I have got this is an A2 size card I'm doing, and I'm using the Floral Border stencil. And that is some Nouveau Jewel Drops in Sea Breeze. And my tip was dried out, so it wasn't really coming out the top of it. So I've just put some on my glass mat, and I'm going to apply this through that stencil. Now you want to be sure you wash your stencil off right away afterwards, because otherwise the stuff will stick to it. But even though it looked quite dark blue, it goes on very pale, translucent, and just a very soft hint of blue in that. Now that's how it looks before I heat set it, because I should not have heat set it, because now you can see it's crackled. But I was okay with that. I left it, but if you didn't heat set it, it probably would dry a beautiful glossy finish. So I've trimmed off the bottom edge of my floral image, and I've picked out a few strips of cardstock that I thought would coordinate. And I mistakenly put that first strip down, but I remembered I was going to sort of put some of these strips in front and some behind. So now I'm gluing just the bottom of that floral image down, and I'm just trying to keep that top left edge away from or part of the image away from the edge of my card. And so now I'm gluing a couple of these strips on the top of my card of the floral image, and the rest I will put in behind that floral piece. I was sort of trying to make it look like it was coming out of the paper strips at the bottom, and I don't know if it worked that way or not, but it is what it is. So then I could just trim off those edges, and then I die cut a few vellum leaves from, I think this was from the Little Foliage one die set, but just a few different leaves to kind of tuck in behind that and just give a bit of a softer look to it and a bit more depth. And so once I had those in place, then I could finish gluing that floral image right down. So I'm just putting glue on the back of it, and I'm just pressing that right down onto my card. And then I've added that thanks, which is the hand lettered thanks die, and I cut that out of silver foil and backed it with 2 more layers of white. And so that's that card. Now I've picked out some green strips of cardstock here, of the paper strips, and I'm just going to put these straight across horizontally on my card and trim off all the extra. And then I've got this, it's the Bryony Floral Wreath. I've die cut that 3 times and I put some little pearl gems on this. And then I've also cut 2 more of these, and I'm going to just take the floral part off. So you can see I didn't even cut it all the way out when I die cut. But I just wanted to have this circle part of this because I'm going to interlock these circles. So I'm just feeding that through the first one. And once I've got it where I want, then I can put a little bit of glue just where they intersect, just to hold that in place. And then I did that on the other side as well. And then once those were tacked down, then I could lift the whole thing up and put glue on the back of this. And then I'm going to put that right down over top of those little paper strips and trimmed off the edges. And then I've got one of these Mother Day gnomes. It's one of the embossed die cut images, so he's quite cute. I just thought he went there. And then my sentiment is going down at the bottom right there. So quite a simple card this, but it used up some of those little paper strips, and I thought that was quite fun. Okay, so on to the next card. So here I have got, that is a 3-inch wide scrap of card, and I've put some double-sided adhesive on it, so I can remove that release paper now. You can see I've already picked out some paper strips there. And I chose these colors because they will coordinate with the paper I'm going to put beside it. You'll see that in a minute. So I just start by putting one on the diagonal, and then it's easy because you just butt all the other ones right up to it and then trim it down. So I've got a few suggestions for this card. So I've got that inky color 6x6 paper there. I just cut that little strip off and I've matted that on some gold foil cardstock. So one idea was to just put the Celebrate sentiment right on it with those little etched butterflies on the right. Now I've backed those with gold foil butterflies as well. So I just die cut them once from gold foil and once from white card and glued the centers together. So that's one idea. This is another idea. I had so many ideas for this card actually. This one is the Allura Butterfly Border die. It's one of the newer die sets from Paper Rose, and I backed that with, offset it with some more gold foil. And you could just add that same Celebrate die to that with the other butterflies. So there's another thought. And then one more idea for you was if you left that with the gold foil on it. And then I've got the Happy Peekaboo die here. And I've cut that from white cardstock, and I thought that was really pretty. And then you could just add a birthday onto that. So those were 3 ideas, but I went with the butterflies. It's summer here, or hopefully it's summer. So I'm just adding that to the left-hand edge there, and the Celebrate. I did stack that up on 2 layers of white cardstock, and then I'm just gluing these little etched butterflies down, and that is going to be this card. I just thought that was kind of fun, and the colors I thought coordinated fairly well with that inky cardstock. Okay, so here's another thought. I've got 2 pieces of 2.5-inch wide by 5.5-inch tall cardstock, and again I've put some double-sided adhesive on these. Now I'm again going on the diagonal. I should have measured this, and you're going to see that. This one really haunts me, this card. You'll see why. But I'm just putting these strips on. Now I'm leaving a space between them, and this will be for the grouting technique. Now on my video channel I've done lots of this a number of times, but I don't think I've done this on the Paper Rose video channel. So all I'm doing is leaving a little space between all those strips, and we're going to fill those once we've got all these strips down. So here you can see why I should have measured this, because I'm really struggling to get the angle right, and I didn't. And it's going to bother me forever, this card. But there, everything is trimmed down. Now I'm going to use gilding flakes, because in between all of those strips there is still that exposed adhesive layer, so the gilding flakes will stick to that. Now you could also use gold embossing powder or silver embossing powder, whatever you've got. They will all work, but I like the gilding flakes, and so that's how it looks. So to turn this one into a card, I have a 5.5-inch tall piece of cardstock by 10 inches wide, and I'm going to score it at 2.5 inches in from the left-hand edge and at the 7.5-inch mark. And that's going to give us the 2 gates to this gatefold card. So I'm just folding those into a mountain fold, giving them a good burnish. And then we're going to glue those little panels that we created right onto each of those gatefold pieces. Now I've used the Lots of Rectangles die, and I just did some extended die cutting to create this purple cardstock frame. I have that hello piece, and that came from the Dear Isabella 12 by 12 papers, and it's just beautiful. So I thought that was perfect to put on my gatefold card to sort of go across the middle and help hold the 2 sides down. So I'm gluing that little trimmed piece out, that border piece, and then while the glue is still wet, I can put my scissors at a bit of an angle and trim off the excess white. And then on the inside here, I've added some more of that Dear Isabella paper. I had some that I had scrap pieces, and they're just too pretty to waste. So I've added those to the 2 sides, and then I've fussy cut out some of these butterflies that were on one of the other papers and added them on the inside. So I'm going to attach this now to the middle there, and this is where you can see how nothing at the bottom there lines up. It's not right. The angles are not right anywhere, but that's the card. So I'm attaching this on the right side because I only want to glue it on the left. So now when I open this, the left side is exposed, and that's where I'm going to put my glue. So I add a fair bit of glue to this side, and then I will close this shut and let that glue set up. And so now it's glued exactly where it needs to be on the left, and we can remove that low-tack tape there on the right. So that's this card. Yeah, that bothers me, that bottom. Oh well, there you go. So that's the inside. It's quite pretty. I mean, the inside I really like, and it sort of coordinates with the colors on the outside. Now this is another card I had previously shown, but not in a video. But this is a card I gave to my son, and again I used those same paper strips at the bottom of that, and so it made a more masculine card. So there you go, guys. That's a few cards for you. I hope that's given you some ideas on how to use those paper strips or pattern paper or even solid cardstock for that matter. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.